What's going on, everyone? In this video, I'm going to quickly break down the it's too expensive objection, or that's a lot of money, or I don't have that amount of money, or any variation of this logistical objection where there is a concern about the investment required to work with you. Now, I'm going to show you this really beautiful map here I built out around objection handling. So on a call, you can use this to just really quickly go to the objection, go through the frames necessary to kind of just explain away that concern. And if you want a copy of this, go ahead and just drop a comment map below and I will send you over the link. Now, with pretty much any objection, the first thing you're always going to want to do is sidestep what the objection is. You want to say, hey, that aside, do you think this could be the answer for you? And have them explain to you why. So, they'll say something like, and that's over here on this side, like, hey, I don't have the money. I want to get some client first. I can't afford this right now. And essentially what you're going to do is say, hey, yeah, so money aside, do you think this could be the answer for you? Why? Okay, why that part specifically? Got it. And then they'll just explain all the reasons why they want to do it regardless of the objection. Now, if we actually go here into this objection along the left side, this is probably going to be one of the most common things. And you want to handle this objection first because this, without the money actually required to make the investment, nothing else matters. None of the other logistical objections or fear objections are going to matter if they do not have the money. So let's walk through this really quickly. First, I like to discuss the rationale, right? So like, hey, I could see how this could be a lot for you kind of based on where your business is at. Now, tell me, like, would you do it if it were free? Cool. Well, why for you specifically? And now this is different than the sidestep where in the sidestep, I want them to explain why they would do the program because of the service or sign up with you because of the deliverables you provide and what specific part of that would help them most. But in this piece, I want them to tell me why they would do it for themselves. So, hey, if it were free, would you do it? Okay, well, why for you specifically? Like, what would this do for you day to day? Got it. And then let me ask, like, what do you feel like is riskier? Staying kind of where you are at, 5,000, kind of bounce between $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and not having the money to overcome that hurdle, or is it riskier to find the money required to make the investment to do this so you can grow your business to 50K, 100K a month, like you said? Which in reality, like, what do you think is riskier? So then where can we find the funding required to make this investment? And this is this idea of getting on the same side of the table as them and having the discussion around, hey, like, where could they actually come up with the funds, and let them come to you with ideas. Now, with a lot of the objection handling, we want to reframe, and basically the idea of reframing is to get them to see things from a different perspective or a different point of view. Now, with the money objection, what we're going to want to do is actually pre-frame the reframe. And it's a little different than the other objections. We'll do other videos about those. This is just for the money objection. And basically, we want to tell them, like, hey, look, at the end of the day, I can help with the investment, but not the commitment. So let me ask, like, are you committed to getting to XYZ result? Are you committed to getting that $50,000 a month recurring revenue in your business? You don't have to be. You can continue doing what you're doing. So why are you committed to doing this? And again, they're going to give you all the reasons why they're committed to doing it. So then explain, if you really want to do this, you know it's right for you. Is it actually a matter of having the funds required to do this, or is it a level of uncertainty that you have? And this is going to really get them to open up, because a lot of times people probably do have access to the funds. They're just a little bit nervous to actually make the investment. So if it does come down to, a level of uncertainty, we'll actually go through the other reframes here that I'll walk you through. But if it's really just, about the actual funds itself, this is where you might get into some of the options around payment options, right? So if I kind of scroll down here, a couple of different options that they could leverage would be, obviously, you always want to start with the full amount, whatever the prepay amount is. So if you have a 3-month program, that's $3,000 a month, and the prepay is $8,000, so they save $1,000, right? You just tell them, hey, the price is $8,000. Then you can kind of go through the options from there, which might look like a split pay. Maybe it's leveraging some type of funding partner or no interest credit card, so you can still get that cash up front. Or maybe you break down those payments even further, right? So maybe you have an option where they can spread that out over a couple of months, 3 months. Maybe they can split it out over 6 months, and then there's maybe a little interest associated with that. I would encourage you to have some in-house financing options where people don't necessarily have to have their credit checked. Yes, you are acting as the bank, and no, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of understanding your cost of goods sold versus your cost per acquisition and making sure that you are profitable here. That's for a different video. This is just purely going through the options that would allow them to, hey, if it really comes down to just the funds being an issue, how can we break that up and make it more digestible for them to be in more alignment with their budget? Now, if someone just purely does not have access to any of that cash and it'd be putting them in a really bad spot financially to make that investment, or they simply just can't, at least you've done your due diligence and gone through the options and walked them through. Because if the money is just not there, nothing else is going to matter. And sure, we could talk about options of, and I'll go through some of these. I'm going to back up and zoom out over here. Some of like the options you could go through are like people who they know who could potentially help with the investment. Maybe there's then downsell options or other versions of your payment plan you can go through. Or if ultimately like they just need to go get the funds together, okay, well, how long would it take you to do that? And what I like to try and do is challenge people to do that in half the time. So if they tell me, hey, it'll take me like 3 months to get the money together, I'll say, hey, can I challenge you to see if you can make that happen in 45 days and hold you accountable to that? And then you set the follow-up. So this way, at least you've kind of gone through all the options if it does come down to purely just being about the money and the logistical challenges of getting that money. Now, if it's more along the lines of uncertainty, here's where we can kind of go through some of the frames. This frame here on the side, this is optional. I'm going to take you through the core 3 reframes that I use on sales calls. So the first one is always around like the real problem, the root of the problem, right? So, hey, let me just ask, do you think that money is the problem here, or it's a symptom of the reason that you're here? And we do this because some people might ask, well, what do you mean? Well, because why are you on this call? To make more money, right? So what in reality costs you more? The funding for this program or not having the skills? Because if you had the skills, you'd have the money and we wouldn't be having this conversation. So not having the money isn't actually the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. And the real problem is not having the skills, because some people say they can't because of the money, and some people say they'll do whatever it takes. Who's putting themselves in a better position? Why? And then let them explain to you which person is actually putting themselves into the better position, the person who says, no, I can't do it because of the money, or the person who actually gets resourceful. And so, hey, so are you open to finding a way to get to where you want to go? And if they've already associated with this label or this identity of the person who is going to figure it out and do whatever it takes, they'll be more open to doing this. And then we can kind of jump back into the payment options and go from there. But if they're still on the fence, they're still waffling on like, I don't want to make this decision. Okay, cool. Well, are you saying that maybe you want to do this at a time when it's more comfortable for you? Okay, so let me ask, do people grow inside or outside of their comfort zone? Obviously, the answer is or the question's rhetorical a little bit, right? Because obviously it's outside their comfort zone. So I guess like what I'm asking is, what position do you need to be in to get to that $50K a month or put yourself in? Do you need to be in a place of comfort or a little bit of discomfort in order to force yourself to grow? So for me, what I like to do is I ask myself, what would like the future version that I'm trying to become, that future version of myself, what would they do to put themselves in the best possible position? And a lot of our students, when they necessarily like didn't have all the funds right away or had to get resourceful, but they did it anyways, why do you think they did that? And do you think that they put themselves in a better position by doing that? Okay, so what are you going to do here in this situation? And let them, again, put the ball back in their court of let them convince themselves of what they need to do, get outside their comfort zone, put themselves in a better position. What would the future version of themselves do in order to get to the outcome that they want? And a lot of times these are rhetorical questions, but you have to, like Inception, plant the idea in their brain so it becomes an organic suggestion that they come up with on their own. And lastly, this is where I might get a little bit more assertive with someone. Again, if they're waffling and they're uncertain, but they have the money, but it's like, oh, well, like I kind of have the money, but like I just don't know. Look, there's a reason why some people get what they want in life and some people don't. Our decisions dictate our future results. Is that fair to say? Okay, so you reached out because you want to make a change, right? Well, if you don't, what happens if we fast forward in a year? What does this actually cost you in terms of money? You're at 10 now, you want to go to 50, so that's $40,000 a month. We're talking about almost a $500,000 a year. Now imagine instead if you actually did do this. What could that potentially change for you? Like how would that change your life? How would that change your family's life? What would that allow you to do? So I'm going to just ask you politely again, like one more time, like where are we going to be able to find the funds so you can make this change and live the life that you want for you and your family? Now, again, kind of going through some of the options around if they're still not deciding on this, so they're still needing to come up with the money. Want to get really transparent and real with them. Like, hey, we need to have a level of transparency if we're ever going to work together, right? So tell me, like, after you pay all your expenses, how much cash are you working with at the moment to see if we could help? And then we can go through some of these options, or like I said, go through some of the in-house payment options, leveraging no interest credit card, leveraging funding partners, etc. Now, some other high ticket closing coaches will kind of suggest even a further rabbit hole of helping them see like, oh, get a side job or selling things around your house, or just coming up with things where they might even get more resourceful. But if they don't come up with some of those things on their own, I personally don't like to volunteer that. If someone doesn't inherently know what they need to do to put themselves in a better position, any amount of me convincing them trying to do that isn't going to go well. It's either they have the money or they don't, or it's something uncertain around the investment that I need to talk them through and help them understand. So hopefully this is helpful for you. I'm going to do a video on pretty much every single one of these objections here. Do me a huge favor. If you like this, hit the subscribe button and the like button. It'll help us reach more people. And if you want a copy of this entire objection handling map and sequence, just go ahead and drop a comment map below and I will send it over to you so you can have that access. I'll see you in the next one.